I'm Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger. I'm an expert on health, on international health, since more than 20 years. Research, science, a lot on methodology of research and ethics. And I have a PhD in public health and a privat docent in medicine. So at the Faculty of Medicine of Geneva, Lausanne, and other Faculty of Medicines. I'm an expert at WHO. I've been an expert many times, and specifically on pandemics from 2009 to 2012, and working with them actually many times on ethics, on pandemics, on social determinants of health, and on aging. As I worked extensively with WHO and with the World Health Organization, International Health Regulation, in the implementation plan between 2009, 2012, even 2013 with WHO Europe, headquarters there, I saw that they are violating now all the regulations they have put in place. And for people and citizens that listen, you can go and look at this international health regulation. There are articles specifically on human rights, protect the freedom of mobility, protect transportation and economy, number two, protect your privacy data, which is not applied now. I mean, it's all a breach in the international health regulation. Since the international regulation implementation in 2012 until 2016, at that point, they changed the international regulation and gave more and more power to Tedros, to the Director General. And to the point that some states have asked for his dismissal, and people internally have said that he's not an expert, we cannot have him, and it was not even considered. So the head of WHO had got much more power. Now, why do member states obey to that? Well, member states, and that's something I can verify already with at least 4 countries, is that countries and their presidents and the governance have signed a contract as a corporate agency. And I can cite you Switzerland has signed, at least in 2014, and I think before maybe in England, the City of London is one of the key points, and New York too, that they are registered as a business. So the Swiss Confederation government is a corporation signed and deposited in Brussels in 2014. We have the documents. I was talking with South Africa, and they have exactly the same. The country, South Africa, is registered in New York as a corporation under the name of Council Exchange International, something like that. Then you have France, is registered as a corporation in France. Then you have United States, and you know that Washington is registered as a corporation with the City of London and Vatican in 1871. It was. I don't know today. But so we already have 4 states, and I think we can go all over the place. And our governments are not democracies. Our governments are puppets of a multinational that is making business on people. The pandemic is organized internationally in a systemic way. This Director General has absolutely no idea about pandemic. And the problem, he's not taking with him the specialists that I know on SARS-CoV-1. Why didn't he bring back Gro Harlem Brundtland and Margaret Chan, 2 brilliant doctors, women, to come and manage the pandemic with him? Where are they? You know, where is their voice? WHO has a communication office and, of course, you know, a press conferences regular. Because of the lockdown, we see a lot online, live. Normally, when you do that, there is called a shock room, a room of special operation I always visit with students, where they look at the whole world, what is the data everywhere, and they communicate. What I see now is that they don't communicate. They are dictating a will of not communicating. And it seems, they are not taking the people specialists that I know. They are doing live presentation, very generalizing, changing words, changing definitions, not giving precise data, not giving precise science. And what is very shocking, is that all the medias in the world say the same thing, the same words, in the shops, in the airports, in the newspapers, and they are paying the media for producing what they want. It is in the law of COVID-19. So how can you have a debate? And then they just build a task force of experts. The task force in Switzerland is full of conflict of interest. I take one after the other of my colleagues at University of Geneva, in the Tropical Institute of Basel, Professor Tanner. He has been funded by Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation immensely. The University of Geneva also, the University of Lausanne also. So the task force and the scientists that are built to lead this pseudo-pandemic are actually helping the rhetoric of the press, the way the press wants, the way the government wants, and we don't have a debate. We have censorship. Censorship is the first, sign of a dictatorship. Freedom of expression is the liberty that you can see when you are free to talk. And this time, we are in a science fiction, big time. The politicization of a new science, fake science. And it is pretty dramatic because it has consequences on people, people's life, people's economy. People can be saved, and they censor doctors, they censor treatments that work. They go to pharmacies and they take the whole stock of ivermectin that works really well. They go and stop scientific people from doing good data collection, saying it is not valid. And they put their own data that's completely in conflict of interest. So WHO, with the media, the main media, they have very well analyzed the system. And they're head of the International Telecommunication Agency. So you can put all this together, and they have the whole system in their hands. And I say they, it's above Guterres. Bill Gates is part of Gavi. But beyond this, Gavi is occupied by a board who are in the system and are promoting this. And above Gavi, we know that the Rockefeller Foundation has been a big part of founding global health and well-being, and everybody knows it, so I can say it, but there are many other agencies that and people that we have to investigate. And what is absolutely shocking as a Swiss citizen is that Gavi, the Global Alliance Vaccine Initiative, has total immunity in their action, in their decision, and in what they're doing. This means they have higher immunity than member states that are in the UN, consulates, ambassadors. They can do any crime they want. Nobody can come and look into their office, in the cupboards, in their computer, and they don't pay taxes. And if you have a diplomatic pass, what happens is you have diplomatic immunity in your luggage, in what you transport, in what you buy, sell. And as you know, we have a secret bank in Switzerland, so it's very easy also, to do a lot of financial setup. So that's the first thing, is that Gavi is a big, big player, signed with the Swiss government, with the FDA of Switzerland, Swiss Medic. They are deciding for our health system and your vaccination campaign. And I suspect they have done this with every country in the world. What I found is that WHO, Gavi, and the Swiss government have signed agreements on managing the pandemic, and not only about the immunity. What I also found is that Gavi has made partnership with bilateral agencies of the United Nations for, like World Bank, probably others. World Bank is very important because they created something called the IM, the International Financial Facility for Immunization. And this mechanism is really incredible. This mechanism is a mechanism that helps Gavi to get funds and donors. And those donors are member states. So we can find, like Italy has given millions to Gavi through this mechanism. They are having a stock bond market. They have made a financial system that so each time the country gives our taxes to the IFFM, they give it, in fact, to Gavi to apply his immunization program and global plan of vaccine, that you can find the plan on WHO 2016. The World Bank has signed with Gavi, the Global Alliance for Vaccine Initiative, Bill Gates, a partnership for the International Finance Facility to Immunization, IFFIM. And this IFFIM is actually financing something called CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation. And just that you know, this is leading the research and science of preparation and is at the basis of the program COVAX, who is chaired by Singapore and Switzerland. So WHO, Gavi, and CEPI, which is actually the governments of the world, your government, is paying for leading the COVAX campaign in the world. What is clear is that there is a big international, multinational, maybe very small, of people with huge amounts of money, probably those who produce the money in private reserve banks. As you know, many of the banks are private and not public, and they don't belong to the government. In the US, I think it's like that. Switzerland also. So the agenda of this big coalition, families, and Bill Gates is part of this, are not hiding what they want to do. If you look at what Bill Gates said in 2015 in a TED Talk, he talked of the virus, the terrible virus, the pandemic, and he talked of depopulation. He said there are too many people on Earth, we have to depopulate. And so that's one agenda, definitely. But it's not new. If you remember, those families or a lot of people have already started in the Second World War with eugenics. They wanted the Aryan race, they wanted the best, that was their excuse for depopulating. And it is even before the other wars. So this is not new. What is new is that we see it clearly today, that they are trying to lock down the liberties of people. The freedom of people is really disturbing them. They want to annihilate any thinking and emotion and cognition. And by the way, this swab in the nose is unprecedented because you can take the saliva and test the DNA. So going down there is with an intention. And one of the intention is that you have the most sensitive cilia of regenerating every day, your brain and the whole sector behind your eyes, pineal gland, etc. And if you touch that, you go and touch the brain. So if you contaminate this in a way or another, or you put something there, or you even destroy this section, it can really have consequences on your aging, on your longevity. So this for me is one of the agenda. They are doing everything to go in this area. So clearly, they want to destroy a depopulation. They want to annihilate those who will survive with their brain being completely unfunctional, obeying. They want to even put nanotechnologies under the skin, make ID passport with a vaccine. So you see clearly that technology is going to lead people. And as this expert of health, Bill Gates, is actually an expert of technology, he has not a clue in health, he of course has the intention to use his technology very advanced. You know, you have to go and look at how technology is advanced today. You can send Wi-Fi data that is nanotechnology. You can take your DNA and send it through Wi-Fi. So this is a very big agenda also. It's to take technology and control people. And maybe the last, but very interesting and very important, is to take away from people their belief system, their spirituality, and their humanity, because they're closing churches, they're closing things that make people spiritual. They are annihilating all the natural healers. And even in Switzerland, they're letting doctors practice, but the natural healers are not. The plan is to keep on and to make it stronger and stronger until they control everybody with technology, with the ID vaccine passport. This is their aim. It is that they are controlling us little humanoids, transhumans, which have chips and are controlled by this nanotechnology that seems like science fiction, but it's already there. You know, there are electronic tattoos. I'm doing a lot of reviews on innovation in aging, and electronic tattoos can monitor your brain, your heart, and they're much more than that. You can implant and direct the brain. So that's what they're doing. So that's the first thing. It's that science and technology is way beyond what we see today. So this is just going to go on forever, because what they're doing, you can see it happening now. It's that those who got vaccinated thought that the vaccination would liberate them. And on the opposite, they're vaccinated, they're dependent on what they call the mutation. They are using this as a gimmick. So they say, oh, every mutation, always with the wrong test, there's a mutation, a new vaccine. So not only people have to make 3 vaccines now, which is also unprecedented with an experimental injection, but now they have to keep on wearing masks, and they have to keep on doing lockdown and distanciation. It doesn't solve anything. They think they're going to travel, but then they will have an ID vaccine passport that will force them to get vaccinated regularly so they can control them more and more, their health, maybe eliminate them. It's really criminal. So the fact that we see that the plan is done for 2031 in the papers of the government, and you have to look for it, is already a plan. The other sign is that Johns Hopkins University has issued a pandemic plan for SPARS 2025-2028. So they will not stop. They will keep on, as long as people believe, they're going to make them believe SPARS and everything, and every flu is going to be transformed in a drama drumming. So every flu, you're sick and you're going to die. And people are so afraid of death. They think that they give their life risk to people who lie to them. They believe in a government that lies to them. So they're using fear. And those who are fearful and don't change will probably, unfortunately, die. So I'm just, calling people to wake up and take back your health. Don't believe in the government. You're creating a perpetual pandemic. It's an eternal pandemic. This is the worst nightmare you can have, is to be in perpetual fear your whole life. Perpetual vaccination. No. So, you see? That's what they want. And they're doing it in front of everybody's nose, It's crazy. But I'm glad the US has refused the obligation of vaccination, and so has the Council of Europe in its resolution of end of January 2021. It's a resolution that is very important for the COVID-19, and 7.3, the 7.3 is saying that there is no obligation and will never be an obligation to be vaccinated. And that's Nuremberg, you see? Nuremberg is when you take people as cobaye and you do experimental injection. This is what happened with Nuremberg. The pharma has been occupying medicine since so long, more than 100 years and even before, that they have, in the Faculty of Medicine, put only the curriculum of you're sick, diagnosis with a machine, and then you get a treatment, and it's always pharma medication. I think the system has to be dismantled, and the key players have to be brought to justice. But also the organization who have played a key role and who intentionally have promoted, things that they know are lethal. Hospitals, directors of hospitals who receive and are bribed and receive money. So they have to be brought to justice. But there is another thing we have to do, is take the money back. The billions. Switzerland has given 400 million francs, Swiss francs, it's about the same with the dollars, but more than $400 million to the pandemic plan, to the coalition for the pandemic. And Italy has also given a huge amount. Every country has given. This has to come back. all the money made with PCR tests, with vaccines, with all the money that they're producing has to be brought back, and people have to have a world free of tax, because we were paying tax to those multinationals, and we recreate a world that is much nicer, much freer, more local. We keep the international, but we have to get back to local governance.